My name is Jonathan Lynn and I'm a solicitor at Hudson Morgan Williams. I've been qualified for 20 years and for the bulk of that time I've been defending in criminal cases, and amongst the things I specialise in particular is for criminal law relating to road traffic matters. If you are involved in a crash, you have to stop if one of three things has happened. If you have, if someone's been injured other than you has been injured, if some property has been damaged other than you, or if an animal has been injured. In any of those three circumstances, you have to stop, give your name, and if you don't, you are committing a crime by and large. The law is you have to stop or report it to the police at the very latest within 24 hours, but as soon as practical. Even if you don't think it's your fault, that's irrelevant. You still have to stop. In fact, I've been saying if you're involved in a crash, the legal test is slightly different to that. The legal test is if whether owing to the presence of your vehicle on the road an accident happens. So an example that explains this, which I came across a little while ago, someone was driving along a dual carriageway and in some way they had displeased a motorcyclist who overtook them. The motorcyclist then turned round and made a rude gesture to the driver of the car. And there was no collision between the vehicles, but the motorcyclist, because he was riding one-handed and looking behind at the car and giving him a rude gesture, lost control and crashed. And the driver didn't stop because he thought, I wasn't involved in a crash, wasn't my fault, didn't touch him. He was wrong, he should have stopped. He was very fortunate not to be prosecuted in those circumstances. But if you don't even have to be involved in a crash, if there's an accident and it's down to you, your presence on the road, or might be down to your presence on the road, you would better stop. Well, if you fail to stop, you're going to be prosecuted, and you know, in the worst cases, you can go to jail for it. It's that serious. There would have to be serious injury. You'd have to leave someone badly injured and run off, which would be pretty appalling conduct. But certainly you run the risk, you will get points, and you will probably get a fine, even if there's just a minor knock and minor damage to a car. But if you don't feel safe stopping, that's when the reporting it to the police comes in, because people get angry sometimes, and you might not feel safe to stop. And if that's the case, you need to go to the police as soon as you can, and at the very least within 24 hours. You shouldn't leave it for 24 hours because you have to go as soon as you can. So as soon as you're safe, you should be looking for a police officer. Careless driving is when the standard you're driving falls below the standard of expected of a competent driver. If your driving falls below the standard expected of a competent driver, that's careless driving. It's a very low standard, and it's something that I suspect I do every time I drive. It's very, very easy to do. If your attention wanders, if you don't check properly and you pull out from a parking space, there are cases where failure to wear sunglasses on a sunny day was counted as careless driving. It's if you're eating, you're paying too much attention to your sandwich or something, or even to a drink, that's careless driving. Dangerous driving is when the standard of your driving has fallen far below the standard expected of a sensible, competent driver. That's dangerous driving. It's a much more serious offence than careless driving. And unlike careless driving, it can be dealt with in the Crown Court, and you can go to jail for it as well if it's bad driving. Examples of dangerous driving are, well, dangerous undertaking or dangerous overtaking, but undertaking especially, where you overtake on the inside. If you do that in a way that's dangerous, you can be in big trouble. Well, then you're into a very serious and tragic situation. I'm going to be talking about this from the point of view of the driver who hasn't been killed. And obviously that's a very difficult situation, and almost everyone is going to be heartbroken and very upset about having been responsible for causing someone's death. Now, as far as the criminal law is concerned, there are a number of offences that can come into play when there's a death on the road. The most the most serious is death by dangerous driving, where if you have been, for example, overtaking dangerously and killed someone as a result of that, you're in a whole heap of trouble if that's what you're being accused of. You will be arrested and detained. You will be questioned by the police, and if there's evidence, you'll be charged and very likely be in the Crown Court. The maximum sentence for the very worst kind of dangerous driving case is 14 years imprisonment. It's a exceptionally serious offence. It's on a similar level to manslaughter. It's a very, very serious matter. There are other offences that could come into play, and we'll leave the extremities of murder and manslaughter out of this and just assume there was no intent to actually hurt anyone. In addition to death by dangerous driving, you also need to be aware of a relatively new offence of causing serious injury by dangerous driving. That offence has only been around for, I think, 18 months or so now. And it used to be that the maximum sentence for dangerous driving is 2 years imprisonment. And it was felt that people were causing serious injuries and not being sentenced anything like seriously enough. So this new offence was brought in with a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment if you cause a serious injury to someone whilst driving dangerously. Careless driving is a less serious offence than death by dangerous driving, obviously, because the driver has done something less bad, but nonetheless the harm caused is just as serious. And again, that's an offence you're going to be questioned by the police, and properly questioned on tape. And again, you could end up in the Crown Court with a 5-year maximum sentence. But again, only in the most serious cases would that be the case. And then there's a new offence, another relatively new offence of death by driving. And this is a very curious offence to lawyers anyway, because you may have done nothing wrong as a driver. It may be entirely the other person's fault. You could be driving along 25 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour limit, and for example, a cyclist suddenly jumps out into the road and he ends up being killed in the accident. You've done nothing wrong, however. And if you've done nothing wrong, normally you wouldn't be prosecuted. Assuming you stopped, obviously. But if you are not insured, or if you don't have a licence, or if you're disqualified, there's a special offence for people in those situations, whereby you can be committing an offence and be subject to a maximum 2 years imprisonment. For a lawyer, this is wrong in principle. It offends all sorts of principles of law, because you should be punished for what you've done. And if you haven't done anything wrong, really, why should you be punished? But nonetheless, this law is there, and you need to be careful. People sometimes do drive uninsured and think, not going far, won't matter very much. Well, you should be aware that you can't. There's this special offence designed to catch you if, in the worst of tragic situations, if that happens. Well, yes, if you're going to be questioned by the police on tape, which you would certainly for the more serious of the offences I've been discussed, you would be covered by you have a right to free legal advice in a police station, and that scheme is covered by legal aid, and there is a duty solicitor scheme as well. And the scheme is a very good scheme. It's compared to other countries, it's an absolutely fabulous scheme, and you will be represented by someone who is either a properly experienced solicitor or a properly accredited legal representative, but as general criminal defence solicitors by and large. So you'll get someone along who knows all about police powers and what the police can do and about how to defend cases generally. But what you might not get is someone who is a proper specialist in road traffic law and who knows the ins and outs of defending these specific types of cases. You have a right in a police station to be represented by the solicitor of your choice, and you can ask for a solicitor by name if you want to. Now, Not all firms who specialise in road traffic law do legal aid, and it may be, but unless you know a firm who do legal aid and specialise in that sort of area, that in order to get specialist help in the police station, you may need to pay privately to get that help. If you find yourself in a position where there's a risk of a criminal law issue arising out of a road accident, it's important to get legal advice, and what you should do is phone Hudson Morgan Williams, and we will help you.